Hey YouTube, this is Mega Dweezil coming at you from the great Indiana wilderness. We're down in the worm farm today and we're trapping. We're going to trap some of our worms because what we want to do is we want to move our worms out of the mature compost, okay, and into some new bins. And what we've done is essentially, the worms are always in the first 4 to 6 inches of your bin. So we've taken the top off each bin, put it in some new bins, and now we're going to trap what's left of the residual to get, our little worms out, some other worms out, and then we will sift this compost. This is the trap tray. Okay, it's just made out of simple wire mesh. It sits right down on the compost. Okay, now this is still full of worms. What we're going to do is we're going to take dry peat, work it into the mesh. Okay, and we're going to wet this down really good. Peat is kind of difficult to saturate. You have to do it sort of a little bit at a time. Ordinarily you want to mist it with a sprayer, but because we've got a quantity here, we're just going to go ahead
And our
sprinkle
food's pretty wet. It'll moisturize it too, right?
Huh?
Our
The
food will
food,
moisturize it.
A lot of moisture in the food. So. Okay, so there's our wet peat inside the tray. We're going to take the food, our vegan puke here. Stick that in our trap tray, and then we're just going to take a little more dry peat, sprinkle it over the top, and then we're just going to cover the bin. Okay, we'll cover the trap tray. What'll happen is the worms that are still left in this compost smell the food, they come up into the trap tray through the wire, and we'll just be able to lift these frames out in a week or so. They'll be full with the rest of the worms. Because we don't want to lose any of our eggs or any of our little ones, we'll sift the residual compost, but this should get the majority of the worms out of the bin. As you can see over here, Josephine is hand harvesting some worms so she can get some compost to make tea out of. The way that you do this, you just take little piles like we've got right here. The worms, being sensitive to light, when it hits them, they go down into this, deeper into the compost, leaving the top layers relatively worm-free. Get out of there, Jeremy. All right.
Why would you throw them back in the pile? Just put them in a bin.
Weirdo. He learns nothing if I just put him back in the bin.
I was thinking of you learning. I'll do that.
Okay. So for the rest of it, we're just going to go ahead and feed up the rest of our bins today. We now have 8 working bins, which is going to let us harvest half one of these bins a week and give it a full 2 months to rest before we harvest it again.
How many worms do you think you have?
Oh, jeez. I'm guessing probably on the order of 100,000 worms at this point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Okay. So, like we're not for sure. But I'm not conducting a census, but, yeah, I think about 100,000. Anyway, this thing is going great guns, and we're going to be ready to start pulling compost out, making worm tea, and inoculating our soil for the garden this spring. Show you how to do that. Next time, I'm going to show you an automatic sifter that I've made for these for this compost that keeps us from having to handle the worms and traumatize them too much. So it's kind of an amusement park ride for my little buddies here. In any case, don't worry, YouTube, because Indiana's holding.
Ew, I just put my fucking finger in it. Yuck.
Don't you fucking stop.
Ow.
So you wipe it on my shirt.
Yeah.
How fucking wonderful is that? Okay.
My shirt's white.